and to be able to I mean, again, a simple oversimplification, but just to be able to listen as to what they're saying, and being able to, whether it's empathy that they need, or and be able to make the read as to what the person's looking for. Are they looking for solution, or are they just looking to be heard a lot of the times, right? And then to be able to make, those kinds of decisions that are not decisions, but just to be able to support the people in the way that they need, right? Like I depend heavily on my wife in our program in regards to being able to have those types of conversations with on the boys and the girls side, because it's just, a lot of times you're just, I find as a head coach, you don't have the bandwidth a lot of times to be able to take a step back, or maybe, and that's something I need to work on more, is be able to take a step back and to be able to not to be able just to try to find a solution, but just to try to figure out, what the person really needs. But yeah, as I say, like Danny Lambert was a captain. I had him as a captain when I was younger in Long Beach, and he was very, very, very good at being able to connect with the different players that he has. And I would imagine that's probably the reason why he's been successful as a coach. And Cale McLean was another one too, and he was very, very good at that part of his making those connections with players that was outside of the game, and had to, find out more about them as people, and, have a real good just understanding, and a really good ability to be able to talk with people as people. And yeah, I think that's, to me, that's, obviously that's, as you mentioned, in the girls side, I mean, as you guys know, it's critically important. And, on the guy side, that's the one thing I really noticed that was really important, was to be able, that ability to connect with them as people. I mean, that's cliche, but, I do think their staff has that in spades. And then Ricky Davis as well. He's elite. He's elite at his job. That is such a tough job, being a strength coach. And to be able to, and he does such a good job at being able to get players to make it about them wanting to get better. And he's elite at it, for sure.
Tim, I don't know if you, over your years, the term emotional intelligence, can you comment on that? Because it appears to be a very important part of coaching that we sometimes lose sight of, thinking the X's and O's all the time.
Well, there's no question it's important, but over my career, there was none. That's kind of a recent advance in coaching, especially at the pro level. But there was none exhibited, generally speaking, through my career. There were some nice people. Emil Francis was a terrific person, and treated you like an adult, a human being. But it is pretty critical to, especially nowadays, coaching. Wow.
Tom, you're into it with your kids, and you had a pretty good tournament. And I just think emotional intelligence is sort of an automatic part of what you do and the way you coach. But all your years of coaching, whether it's pro in Europe and working with all the different people, how would you talk about emotional intelligence and the impact of it? Or was it automatic over there? There was never problems in the way they treated their players?
No, like as far as this team I'm coaching right now, it's a Bantam girls team. My assistant coach Emily was there, and like Dom says with his wife, she really she was invaluable talking to the players, because it's a different perspective, the girls, and she kind of knows what they were thinking and all that sort of thing. I think, like, as far as like in Salzburg, I don't think it was anything anybody was concerned about. I'll tell you a story about one of my daughters, this former football player. He's from Florida, played at Nebraska and played at different CFL teams. And this is the kind of, one day he came to practice with the Stamps, and there's a note on his stall that says, "You've been cut, clear your stuff out." Nobody talked to him, nothing, you know. And he said it was really hard living that life, you know, high school and university, and all of a sudden he just cut loose. And that was kind of like Tim said, didn't really exist at the pro level. But yeah, I guess you got to treat people like people for sure. What I did on the way there, I thought really helped, is I talked to every player. So I'm at the front of the bus there. So every player came up and we had maybe about a 10-minute conversation, because I didn't know any of these people before. These girls, and I'm thinking, I've got 3 going to that Winsport sports school, and they're training on ice, plus they're doing off ice. Like we had off ice last night. I don't really think they should have to go to that off ice. Then I have a girl that I think her dad won a gold medal in the speed skating, and she trains for speed skating. And her dad wrote me about how much she's doing. I said, Jim and I talked about it. It's probably counterproductive for her to do, more training. So what do you guys think about that? That say to some people that are already doing it that they don't have to go to our team thing, because I think you're gonna get burned out.
Well, Tom, I absolutely agree. I talked to Mike about his daughter and thinking about, yeah, it's not a day off because she's got more days on than any of the other kids. I guess my issue is, there any kids that might milk that and take days off that don't do anything else?
No, I would name who already. The point is that people get the training, right? So if
Yes.
you're already getting it,
Yeah.
People that don't do, it's not part of what they're doing in their school day.
Yeah.
They need the training.
Have you noticed?
I've never experienced this before. You guys, there was a tournament in Calgary, and we played 4 games. That's 2 weekends ago. And then tournament in Kelowna, we played 6 games. So in 9 days, we played 10 games. So I've never seen that much hockey, because they're all stop time 60-minute games. That was pretty amazing. And it was amazing the energy they still had at the very end of it. I guess that's what you're like when you're 13, 14 years old.
Tom, what about your schedule? Is it as demanding as what Tom described?
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. We probably overscheduled the last little bit. I mean, as we're still going, we were in where were we? We were in Penticton for a CSSHL weekend, and they're long. Like the games are considered long for us. There's 3 3 20-minute stop time periods, which is an anomaly here. And then we turned around. We got back on the Monday night, and then we flew out to Toronto on, I believe it was Thursday morning, and then played. And the games out east were much shorter. There were 2 15-minute and a 12-minute period. But yeah, our girls were our girls were a bit flat mentally, and I get it. Like it was a lot of hockey, and I think it was, in looking at it now, it was I think it was counterproductive. I think it was too much, but it was a good experience nonetheless. I actually saw a couple of acquaintances of Tim there. I saw Peter Oleander was in one of his assistant coaches from Ohio State were there. Talked to them a little bit, and then there was another Meredith Ross, I believe, from Harvard,
Yeah.
They talked with both of them a little bit, and so I mean it was good. I mean it was good exposure for the girls. I do think though that it was from a scheduling standpoint was too much, and I think I think it was it was too much hockey, too much travel. Not enough consideration for time zones and everything else. But.
Yeah, good. You got good people. Hey, Dom, I'm kind of curious. I was listening on, on CBC at noon yesterday. They were talking about, and Tom, I guess too. The new sort of new rules around, players basically having to wear a base layer in the locker room at all times, including, I think, when showering, if the showers are communal showers. It seems to me in lots of ways to make some sense, especially, say, for groups 16 and under, because of all the insecurities about body type, all that thing. And we're not necessarily just talking about, gay people or potentially trans people or anybody else, but there's a lot of young teenagers that are pretty self-conscious about themselves. So I'm just wondering, it seems to be a lot of people making a mountain out of a molehill out of this. I'm not sure how difficult it would be because everybody did all through COVID, to show up at the rink with your equipment on, put your skates on, and away you go. So just interested in both of your perspectives, sort of actively coaching right now.
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I have never, all my coaching years and everything, never had any problems with that. About people. I mean, I would absolutely hate that if I had to go out in minus 25 and I wasn't showered. Stuff. I get chills. I get a cold. So, I remember coaching Mount Royal Women, and we had one of those spring camps, ID camps. So the Mount Royal Women, one of the girls told me about this. They're just getting changed, walking into the shower. All these girls out of high school, they'd kind of never seen this before. They were kind of shocked because we were in the men's room. It was in the spring, eh? And it was a communal shower. I know at St. we had about 6 stalls, I think, for the girls, and the men's was a communal one. But I don't know. I don't think it's a necessary rule. And who's going to enforce it?
Well, you guys have to.
No, I can't go in the room. I would be very discouraged.
Well, you have to find the rules say you have to find some parents that can go in the room.
Well, yeah. Under 13 thing last year I did, there was always a parent in the room, but with this team here, the under 15, there isn't.
Well, there's going to need to be now if you want to comply with Hockey Canada regulations.
Yeah, and so USA Hockey, there needs to be obviously they have, and I'm assuming it's Respect in Sport. It's called Safe Sport here in the United States, and there needs to be locker room monitors, and yeah, it's the communal shower. I have to be honest. It's not as prevalent. Girls taking, well, especially the girl, and I have 3 daughters, and so them taking showers after events now. When there's times obviously where we are going to, we're finishing a game, like it just happened in Penticton, and so there's they'll have a game and we can't get back to the hotel and we have to leave from the rink and go to leave right away. And so I do know, again, hearing from my daughters that there will be like girls will wear, swimsuits to shower. And I have an assistant that is in the room, and I guess that's a little more common here. I know when I first took over the boys program, the athletic director was, like shocked that guys would shower naked. He would assume that they would shower with their swimsuits on. And so I know down here it seems to be, as I say, I've had boys games where they're out in 5 minutes. I'm like, you guys not shower. And so, I mean, it's something that, as I say, down here, they are, more online with having kids shower in their swimsuits, right? So I a little bit different, but what is exactly the rule? I haven't in Hockey Canada. I've heard some of it and I've read a couple article, but what is the rule specifically state?
Well, I don't know the actual language, but the gist of it is, you can't be naked in the locker room. You have to have a base layer on. People are wondering what a base layer is. Well, they make a mountain out of a molehill. Like, just have clothing on. It can be, whatever.
Yeah.
But you have to have a base layer on of some kind, and I believe it includes, like, if there are not individual showers, then you're supposed to shower with your base layer on or whatever. I think that's the gist of it. And I can see how logically there are some perhaps problems with it. But my other thought, I'll go on a different tangent. My other thought as you were speaking, Dom, was, here's Hockey Canada trying to do the right thing in terms of being inclusive for everybody and make it safe and inclusive for everybody. And now we've got the NHL going the exact opposite direction. Like, they don't want to touch anything with a 10-foot pole. They like to say they're inclusive, but they're really not. It's really pretty interesting.
I had a call from a Flatters gentleman who played with Vancouver Giants. He's now broadcasting, taking the course in to broadcast out of the state. And he asked me about, he asked me about the policy and what I thought. And I have discussed it with numerous people here. It sounds like the in the U.S. they're ahead of the curve relative to dealing with this. I think the discomfort, possibly, of being naked, exposed, they've been through it a little bit more than we might have. I'm just not sure where they're at culturally in the States, but I believe that's going to become the norm here. Just our generation, we grew up much differently, and I had no idea about, haven't even given thought, even though being involved in female hockey, I assumed they just showered and were naked and that was it. But I could be wrong. I don't know, Tim. Our national teams, they do what we did, just undressed and showered and got dressed again. What was your opinion? Hi, Sammy. Great timing, Sammy. We're talking about Hockey Canada's policy and being covered, and
I love it. All right, what's everybody's opinion so far? Give me a synopsis.
Well, I think we need your opinion because we're sort of wondering what the necessity is of it. And I said, well, they wouldn't make a rule if there wasn't a necessity. I didn't say that, but I'm thinking that. And Dom had mentioned that they've been wearing seats and swimsuits in the U.S. on the male and female side, I believe, Dom. I'm not sure if that's correct, but it seems to be already sort of impacted in the United States and accepted than here. But I asked him, I had no idea. I am assuming that when you guys showered, everybody was naked and there were no issues. But I don't know either. I never thought about it. So,
and Sammy, just in a nutshell, I see the intent of the rule and I kind of agree with it. Because so many, not just teenage girls, but guys as well, are pretty body conscious, and there'd be a lot of stuff going on that this could, help deflect. I see the intent of it, and listening on CBC at noon yesterday, I just see a lot of people, including Bob Wilkie, I might add, Wally, making a mountain out of a molehill. This is going to create all kinds of problems, and I just don't quite see it myself.
And so what was Dom's take on in the US that it already happens?
Yeah, Dom, if you're trying to speak, you're muted.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, on the girls' side, like they'll wear their bathing suits to shower, or they'll wear t-shirt and shorts. Like when we've gone, we've had to shower, because we're going on a plane right away, going to the airport. They'll wear t-shirts and shorts, and on the boys' side, I think, I think boys generally have I've showered naked, and again, I'm assuming, but I know, speaking with my AD at the school, he was kind of like, no, they've got to shower with their bathing suits on, and so I think it's becoming more commonplace on the boys' side. I do still think that they probably still shower naked, but I do know, as I say, like in whether it's basketball, football, I mean, and again, I don't know, but I know that's been part of the dialogue. Definitely on the girls' side, they'll shower with their swimsuits on or with shorts and shirt.
Oh, you're on mute, Wally.
Sammy, what's your take on this issue?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting, now only really being in rec women's dressing rooms. So a couple different takes. Initially when it came out, I think like you guys, I was like, why? This seems like such an extra step, an extra layer. And then I thought about my journey in hockey, where, the first time I saw another girl play was actually the Olympic team. So I never saw girls playing. I didn't know how it worked in girls' locker rooms. But for me, my journey growing up, I was always in the boys' locker room, and they always went to the toilet stall to change, and I usually came with my spandex and t-shirt on. And that's what allowed me to be a part of the team, was this rule. I guess it's just this unwritten rule that was always there. And even when I went to Stanford, I can remember the first time that I played for the men's team. The first couple practices, I had my own locker room. And then the guys started to realize that I had this giant space and they were all smushed into one tiny room. And so gradually guys started to come over and say, can I change here? Like, I'll just change in the bathroom, and then can I put my gear on? And then slowly it started to be half and half, and I started to be integrated into the team like everybody else. And so I think, we did it unknowingly that this allowed me to play. So then I think to, kids that are going through any gender questioning issues, or maybe aren't as comfortable, that this would be exactly what they need to stay in the sport. Otherwise, they're not going to want to change in front of other people. They feel really uncomfortable. And when I see it at my hockey school too, most of the little girls are going into stalls to change. Like, they are not changing in front of the coaches, in front of everybody else in there. I also found it interesting when I got to Stanford and was in track and field, that in every other sport or dressing room that you go to that's a women's locker room, you have shower stalls, and only in a hockey locker room is it open. And in fact, on my rec teams, I would say the only women that shower after a game and this is across the board in sort of the rec leagues that I play in, are the women that played NCAA or a high level of hockey. The rest of the women do not shower. They go home and shower. They just think, why would I shower in front of everybody else? This is not anything I've ever done before. And, growing up in the game, that's just kind of what we did. So it kind of makes you think about why we do it that way, why it's been that way. And maybe this is just a good stepping stone to, putting some thought into, what is keeping kids maybe out of the game and uncomfortable in the game, and allowing everybody to be a part of the game. So I see it as a really great thing. I think that it can be, talked about in a positive way so that it is inclusive, and it doesn't have to be something that, people take to the extremes to think that it's changing hockey culture or changing anything. I guess at the end of the day, Wally, it's what allowed me to play. It's the only thing that allowed me to play. There's never ever extra hockey dressing rooms or anything like that. When I was growing up, there's no women's toilet stalls you could go in that had skate mats or anything. So I had to be in the dressing room. And so I guess that, I don't know if I don't know who implemented this or started it within Hockey Canada, but I do think that long term, and I think, like Dom said, it kind of already happens. So why not allow it to flourish, I guess.
And that's a pretty interesting story, Sammy, how you kind of came to it sort of accidentally at Stanford. And, I'm not sure it's, directed just only at people questioning their genders or whatever, but lots of teenage kids have a lot of body issues and
puberty. I can remember the first boy too in our dressing room that had something happen in the shower that was that he didn't want to happen, and that stayed with him. Like, that happened when we were 12 and stayed with him till he was 18, and everybody knew it. I knew it, everybody knew it. And it was like, it probably happens to everybody, but so, just not having those tags for young children, that are going through puberty and going through all of that, maybe. I don't know, Tim. You guys have been in men's hockey locker rooms. There's a hierarchy, obviously, and I don't know how all of that happens. Once they go past the stalls into the change room, I don't know what happens on the other side of the stall. But
I remember, I think as early as grade 7 or grade 8, I'm not sure how or what the occasion was, but I don't know whether we were cleaning or we were doing something, but I got to go in the girls' locker room and realized, oh my God, they have their own showers in here. Like, they have separate stalls. And I'm like, why is that? And that was, 60 years ago or whatever. And it's just very interesting, the whole area. As I mentioned, Sammy, just before you got on, we've got Hockey Canada trying to do the right thing in terms of making people feel safe and that sort of thing, and including everybody. And now we got the NHL running away from the same thing, very shamefully, I might add. Like, they're just a bunch of old men that are scared to be on the right side of issues. How could it possibly hurt anyone if Dominic Pittis decided to use rainbow tape on his stick to make a statement? How could that possibly hurt anyone, hurt his teammates or whatever? It's just so pat.
I think it comes down to the NHL for money and who their fan base. Who they think their fan base is, which is that, I'm not going to throw people under the bus, but the Barstool community that, just to put, not to paint everybody with the same brushstroke, but if you make any comments on social media about anything like this within the hockey world, instantly it just gets trashed. Or if, women say anything within the hockey world. So I think the NHL realizes those are their fan base. and that's who their money, lots of their money is coming from. It's coming from all sides, right? And they say they want to be inclusive, but do they really? Like, do they want to turn those people off? That is, you know, a huge segment of hockey currently. Like Tim, I think it's got to be a money issue, because you know a lot of those guys at the highest level in the game and in hockey, and you know they're not bad people. Like they have families, they've gone through a lot, and yet they're still making these decisions. So I don't know.
Well, I was listening, and what started the thing is one Russian on one team refused to wear the Pride jersey, and then a couple of guys, and there was a few guys on every team said it conflicted with their religious views. You know, and so they just kiboshed the whole deal. That was kind of the
but then like Black History Month gets looped into that, and then
they've eliminated everything.
Yeah, they eliminated everything.
Yeah, very mature response.
I know. It seems so.
Why can't we truly embrace diversity and just let it happen? And if player X in Washington doesn't want to wear a pink sweater out for warm up, you don't have to.
Yeah, and they have to deal with the wrath. Like they have to stand up and say
that's humanity. That's life. Like
exactly. I agree.
If this is your view, one side or the other, support it.
I agree. You should have the choice as a human but you also you can't be shielded from maybe the comments on either side,
Mm-hmm. Nor should you be, really.
Right. Like Tom, I know, some of the Russian comments were that we would get our families would get hurt in Russia if we did this. That's okay. They don't have to do it. And they're playing in North America. So yeah, it seems like all of the other things, like there's the Jets do a great like First Nations Indigenous Day, and like all of that just got kiboshed, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's sad and shameful, as I said. In my mind anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad Brian Burke came out against it. I mean, he's in a position that he can because he's not working for them, but.
Yeah, but he would anyway, even if he was working.
Yeah, he probably would.
That would be Berkey.
Yeah.
Good man that he is. Yeah, it's an interesting issue, and in the era where we're opening bathrooms up so there's no privacy whatsoever in public bathrooms, males and females sharing bathrooms and everything else, and now we're kind of going the other way. It's just a very interesting dynamic, and as a society, obviously, we're trying to figure it out. But it doesn't help not to confront it the way the NHL has chosen to.
What did you say, Tom?
I got a junior high school story about this kind of thing. When I was teaching, my first year teaching, the boys were supposed to shower, right? I just taught boys phys ed, and me and this other guy, the head of phys ed came, and he said, well, is there anything? We said, well, the kids don't shower. And he says, I'll show you what to do. So, and the kids they didn't even know who this guy was, eh? So after the phys ed class, he goes into the locker room, strips down. He says, I'm going to show them what to do. He strips down and he showers in front of all the kids and then gets changed. And like not one kid showered, eh? And me and this Rick guy, we were laughing because, I don't know, he was just kind of out of touch with everything. It was a pretty funny thing that happened. But it's not like when I took swimming at the YMCA when I was like 10. They didn't allow us to wear any bathing suits.
Yeah, my dad took YMCA swimming and there was no bathing suits allowed.
So we're all around there. That was a weird one.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's, that's been, in North America for men for a long time. And yet in Europe, women's bodies are more used to being out and open in the public. Whereas here, it is women that have always been sort of closed and confined, and men that have been open and all over the place.
And I took Sate to in the 80s to Germany, Switzerland to play. We went. It was Bad Tolz, so it was a bath, one of the hot spring things. So I'm thinking, there must be an opening in the wall or something. I can hear all these girls. And I look around, I realize we're all changing in the same room in the in the shower. So there's a totally different view in Europe, right?
Mm-hmm. I do like that at the tennis club that we go to, they have a men's and women's area, and then they have a family area. I like that, especially as for mothers of sons and stuff. Like, it's nice to be able to go into a place where you know what you're getting yourself into, and then have privacy in other spaces.
Yeah.
I have an related story. Playing in Europe with a senior team that qualified to go to a tournament because it was in the Allen Cup. And our trainer came into our room and he said, you share showers with the opposition. And the oppositions were the Czechs. And the trainer came in and says, you guys had better wait. You're going to be embarrassed because they look like athletes. They're fit, they're cut, they're trained. And we were just a bunch of guys playing hockey was the reality. And I
Who won
remember
the game?
like it was yesterday, but common joint showers with the opposition. And I don't think you do that in North America, but.
Who won the game, Wally?
Well, we didn't, that's for sure. In fact,
It was a lesson for everybody. Get fit.
Yeah, we were very, well, I think typically in Canada, we were sort of egotistical and played the game our way, and we had no idea what being an athlete meant. We thought we knew it all about hockey and it was our game, but we've now learned it's a world game, and you better stay up with it and catch up with it and become an athlete to be an elite player. And we learned that with the women's team, Sammi, and playing in Nagano and realizing how far behind in fitness we were with the US. I bring up the story how fit they looked as I walked down the long hallway between dressing rooms and seeing them stretching. The Americans had muscle definition, far less body fat. They looked like athletes. And that's the first thing I noticed when I walked by everybody else's dressing room, including our own. And having observed that and lived through it, that's why Silvershow got extra money from the federal government to invest in dryland testing and training for, I think it was 6 weeks we were in Valcarce, because we were so far behind in fitness. And all that season, losing every game, we overtrained deliberately to catch up. We centralized longer, but not for 18 months like the Americans did in 1998. But there was a tremendous lesson there. And when we got into the issue of how you dressed in the dressing room or showered or not in the dressing room, I never gave it any thought. I said, I don't even know if Tim knew, but I imagine you all just went in and showered. You didn't cover yourselves to shower, and that's my imagination. And now I think it appears to be the way to go. Times have changed, and possibly it's should have been a lot sooner.
Well, and I think it less about at the adult level than necessarily people covering themselves, but maybe just rinks need to have stalls, just so that somebody has a private area to go into. But the Olympic team was the first time I showered with other women. I mean, a funny story about this. I was at the Juno Cup, and I was at the Juno Cup, you're with like rock stars and musicians and stuff. And there's a separate women's change room. And most of these women had never played hockey at any level, really. And I can remember that, and obviously you're in a hockey locker room, so it's like an open shower. And several women just coming up to me and saying, like, do I do I go in there at the same time as you, or do I wait for you to come out? Like, how does that work? And just it being so normal as a hockey player. And then thinking about that for these rock stars, like this must be such a weird thing to have played an hour, to have like skated for an hour, and now we're gonna go all get naked together. Like this must be such a bizarre thing. And that was the first time that really made me think about it, to be like, this, what we do is really weird. Like, anyways.
Well, when you say it that way, Sammy, the rule makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because our normal was weird.
Yeah, like, why was that normal? Maybe because it was, heralded back from the day that you went swimming naked, and that's what you did. And because it was such a male sport all the way along, that's just kind of what happened. And yeah, it's not until you stop and question it. But Wally, I'm curious what you're up to these days in Calgary. Are you helping out with Tom's team?
I'm helping out with all teams at Girls Hockey Calgary, 8 teams. I'm doing the mission statement exercise that we created with Hockey Canada, the national team, in the late 80s, on the mission statement exercise to create a culture of synergy between and bridge the gap between coaches, parents, in terms of their common goals of what they want to accomplish in the season. I'm really enjoying it. It's a full-time thing. Last night, you really glad to hear this. Sammy, Samantha Holmes was doing a mission statement exercise. She had me do it with over 150 coaches at a community female hockey symposium. It was 2 separate sessions, one on a Friday, one on a Saturday, followed up by breakdown groups for the coaches to do some X's and O things. But we did the exercise with the coaches a couple of months ago. And then last night, she's working in the same community, Girls Hockey Calgary, a pretty large one now. And she asked me to join her as she did the exercise with 2 groups separately, about 1 hour each. U13 and, U11 and down, and U13 and up, with the managers to do the exercise, preparing them to do the exercise with the parents. And it was amazing. Like Samantha nailed it. There was one guy, 2 men, one in each of the different groups, that was a manager. One of them had stepped up because nobody else would take it. All the others were women. There was approximately 30 in each group. And we had talked about emotional intelligence earlier on the call before you got on, Sammy, and talking about the Flames staff and how Dominic mentioned he knew the people there that possessed emotional intelligence. And I just sat back and listened to this pure emotional intelligence of the women and getting it in terms of the importance of perspective in sport and managing and leading and bridging the gap with all the issues that are going on. So I'm doing it and having a great time, and it keeps me too busy, but it's really fun. And I interrupted Sam last night. I interrupted Samantha. Of course, she's running it. Now, I've done it for her. The second day in the community 2 months ago, she ran the second session, and now she's able to deliver this and preparing managers to do it, because it can't be something that only I can do or only she can do. It's a leadership dissemination thing that has to happen where everybody is capable of teaching others to come together and work together. And it was quite amazing. I'm pretty excited about it. I know I've I've talked to Dominic about the exercise, and he was dealing with, I think, the San Jose Association and coaching teams and the issues that come up with parents and coaches and the disjointedness in what they're trying to accomplish, which is really harming kids and their development. Sports can do so much good for people, as we all know, and we've all benefited from that and are giving back because of that. But the overall community of competitive coaches and even community coaches who regard themselves as competitive create atmospheres that aren't, they cause kids to quit sports sooner than later. So sorry
Well,
to go on so long.
No, Wally, you're lucky that Sam is at the helm. She's at the helm of Hockey Calgary right now.
She's not at the helm, but she doesn't need to be. She's in the middle, and she is able to get these points across. And if and when her daughter moves up the ladder of hockey, I believe she will be at the helm someday. But she's playing a really influential part, making sure things are done the right way. And there's a number of other mothers who played on the national team or were in the Oval program that are there now, and they understand the importance of the culture that we lived with the national program, attempting to have a real synergistic professional kind of atmosphere, not totally focused on winning, but focused on developing people and sticking with the process that it takes to win. Just like us losing in 98 and the process of training, sacrificing winning all season for training is the process to win in 2002.
Dom, are you in San Jose?
I'm in Livermore, so no, I'm actually, the school's in Stockton.
Okay.
And then like I live in Livermore. San Jose was where the kids were playing. They were involved in the club teams, the
Gotcha.
Sharks.
I'm on my way to my 25th reunion. I went to Stanford next week, but I was just curious if you were right there, but you're not really.
Yeah,
I can't believe you're that old, Sammy.
What's that, Tom?
I can't believe you're that old.
I know, right? I can't believe it either.
Yeah, my middle daughter actually had gone to a soccer camp at Stanford, and it was
nice.
the first time I'd been out that way.
You walk on campus and it's just glorious.
Yeah. Wait till you get to your 45th, Sammy.
What's that, Tim?
Wait till you get to your 45th.
I mean, every age you feel like, yeah.
Oh God.
I mean, I am incredibly grateful. You know, I think that the 25th is nice because Stanford's a place where people come from all over, right? So I have never been to a reunion, so I'm really excited to go back and see all your university classmates. And it's quite a small school, only 1,500 graduate per year, so you kind of do know a lot of people, which is interesting. Yeah, so like my year, we had Tiger Woods, we had Reese Witherspoon, we had none of these people are who they became. Chelsea Clinton, we had some, just a mishmash of all these various different people that you don't really know who they are, but anyway, still fun. So 25 years later, and already at the conversations, I feel like I'm 20 again, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a great group of still very good friends from Brown. Same thing. The classes were about 1,200 then or something like that, and we started after 20 years or more. Like it was the Olympic year 2006 when I went to Vermont. We had a little golf get together, and then we started doing it every year. And like some years now, like it's not just hockey players, but some years now, like last year in September, we had 75 or 80 of us in Rhode Island. It's so much fun. I said,
Oh, that's amazing. Is that also where Jim Lawson went with you?
yeah,
Or no?
yeah.
He did.
Jim was 2 years behind me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's he
Yeah.
What's he doing now that he's kind of retired-ish?
Yeah, he just had his. They just had a retirement party for him. I think a week ago yesterday at Woodbine. So he
Yeah.
stepped down formally as the CEO of Woodbine. I think he's staying on as kind of like a mentor for a little bit, but sort
Yeah,
of.
mentor to Michael Copeland, he
Yeah.
used to sit on our board for the CWHL.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. So
yeah.
he's going to stay on, and I think in his words, work 2 days a week instead of 8 days a week.
Mm.
And you know, he's a minority owner of the Tiger Cats, Hamilton Tiger Cats. So, but I don't think he has a too active a role there. But anyway, and I'm going to see him this weekend because I'm actually, you're leaving. I'm coming in to Toronto this weekend.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get to go to the Connor Bedard show in Toronto Monday night. So with Jim.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
tell him congratulations from me.
Yeah, yeah, I will.
Listen, Sammy, when you were talking about Berkeley and you were name dropping Tiger Woods, did he go to Berkeley?
Stanford.
He went to Stanford.
Yeah.
So my brother actually went to Berkeley.
That's right. I
across
remember
the bay, and that's the big rival. So we don't talk about them.
My question to you academics is, I think you got an engineering degree of some sort, and all of us, and Sammy, you're a great example of what you end up doing in your life. The education might have had less of a part of it than what you did outside of your education, which was your sporting world. But like the student athlete experience, I find is there is a relationship established playing together over that period of time. And I think you can't put a price tag on the value of that, but how different it is that we end up doing what we're doing. I'm doing what I was educated to do now, but very few people like yourself, Sammy, did your degrees lead to your vocation?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I did work when I first moved to Toronto. I worked in the hockey equipment manufacturing sector, designing equipment for women and various different companies, but that was all based in London. And I was training in Toronto, so it became a little bit of a commute. And so I consulted for a little bit and then moved into professional speaking. And a lot of my clients end up being engineering or techie or kind of nerdy type companies because they understand that I understand their language. But on that same note, Wally, I went to hear Ken Dryden speak the other night. So Ken Dryden was being interviewed by Sarah Polley. And Ken's journey, obviously, through hockey was through university at a time when, you know, that was kind of a strange thing. And it was interesting because he said he has a new book coming out that chronicles his grade 10 year, those 35 kids that were in that one class at Etobicoke Collegiate, and where they are now. And, you know, 50 years later, what they're doing, what their life took, and how it chronicles also the ups and downs of Canada and, you know, women's changing roles in Canada from, you know, parents that had just come out of the war to, anyways, it sounds fascinating. But they asked him, Sarah Polley, who is a famous Canadian producer and actress, and asked him, you know, did he have any regrets? And he said the only regret he had was that he wasn't elected prefect of his high school. So he wasn't elected president or like to that presidential council. And he found out 30 years later that it was because the teachers thought he was too busy with hockey and that he wouldn't have the time to devote to it. And so he said, you know, I'm not angry at too many people in my life, but this Mrs. whatever her name was, I want to go back and tell her that, you know, when I was playing for the for the Montreal Canadiens, they never said to me, you can't go to law school at Cornell. And when I was at law school at Cornell, they never said to me, you can't play for the Montreal Canadiens. So I think I could have also been class president also. So I thought that was quite funny. But he had this great sort of mantra about his life journey, because he's had these such random vocations, right? For somebody that played hockey, law degree, went to Cornell, became a writer, became an influencer in his day, and then an MP, a member of parliament, and just all these different things. And I think, it's something that I think all of us on this call is that you follow your joy, you follow those opportunities that you think will bring you joy and that you can be of service to others. And that really resonated with me. I think engineering teaches you to think outside the box. And that's what I learned at Stanford, was to sort of think outside the box, and that it isn't about the actual education. It's about learning to learn. And that's what I think it really taught me. So yes, I think, Wally, I use my degree every single day. It just might not be that I'm sitting in front of a computer typing on a desk about mechanical engineering all day long. But I think all of us.
Couldn't agree more, Sammy. I've long felt exactly that way. Kids trying to, when I was coaching at Vermont, what do I major in? What do I major in? It's like, well, what are you interested in? And don't worry about getting a job so much as learning how to learn and learning how to be disciplined to get the work done and manage your time. And that's what you get out of it. And kind of on point, I just kind of wondering, it's funny you mentioned Ken Dryden, because I just this morning, about 2 hours ago, read a big long excerpt from his new book.
Interesting. Yeah, it's out in 2 weeks. So this was kind of part of the book tour. I guess this is maybe the start of it.
Yeah, it just popped up on a Google search kind of thing, and it was pretty interesting. He always has interesting perspectives. But when you were talking, I thought, I wonder what he majored in at Cornell, sort of to the point. Because it obviously didn't have anything to do with hockey, and maybe tangentially had something to do with being a lawyer, but it'd be interesting to know what he did major in.
I think back then, because my dad became a doctor, and he just went right into being a doctor. Like, there's no undergrad. So I wonder if law degree was the same. You just went into a law degree.
I don't think so. I think they just
probably Google search it pretty quick.
Yeah, I think they started that kind of thing like at McMaster in the late 60s, early 70s. And I know Brown set up a med program in 72, but I think you still had to do a couple of years anyway, of at least 2 years of undergrad. But
to sort of get into it. But yeah. Wally, you know that Ken's son married Tammy Shuchuk?
Oh, yes, I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
I was going to
so
bring
we had a long
up.
conversation about what they were up to. They're still living in New York, and his son is, I think, was a management consultant or something. And so, but that they're doing well, and the kids are getting older, and she has 2 goalies. Huh. So 2 boy goalies that I think that's the worst position in all of sport, is a parent of a goalie.
He was the only player on the Olympic team that wore makeup.
Well, not maybe the only player, but she was she had the mantra, you look good, feel good. I mean, yeah. And I think that dramatically changed. I think that now, like, lots of women are followed in her footsteps. She also drank a Pepsi between every period. Like a real Pepsi. Yeah. Which, she was told, I think by her dad or somebody, that was what she was supposed to be doing, and to get the energy. And she certainly was a little spark plug, that's for sure.
Ken, I remember her well. Yeah.
Interesting little sidebar. Ken Dryden's, when he was growing up in Etobicoke, he literally shared a backyard with my grandfather.
Interesting. So my mom is a year younger than him, grew up in Etobicoke, and went to the same school. So I wonder if they would have grown up right around. Do you remember the street your grandfather was on?
Yeah, he was at 10 Southway Road in Etobicoke, sort of Islington. And I think the Drydens were literally right angles, and they had a big open area behind all the houses. so people kind of shared backyards. Just kind of funny.
Okay, I'll have to ask my mom if that's. My mom ended up marrying my dad when he was at U of T and got dragged back to Winnipeg, but she is a Etobicoke. Bye, Dom. Sorry that we're. If it's boring. See you later.
Yeah.
I'll ask her about that though, because my mom ended up going to Richview, which was just built like that year. So had gone to Etobicoke Collegiate and then went over, but I would assume that the catchment would have been in that area. So I'll ask her what her address was. That's
very interesting. One of the, I'm not sure, 2 years I played basketball for basically 5 years in high school while I was playing hockey. But I think 1 year, like we won our county championship and we had to play Richview for the Hall Field Championship, and I'm proud to say we kicked their butts. But
oh, good. Okay,
good. Anyway.
Yeah, my mom is born in 46, and I think Ken is born in 47.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like right around the same age. And I said to her, like, I was talking to her last night. I was like, you probably know a lot of these people in this book. Like, what a fascinating book to read about all of your friends and their families too. Yeah, so was the excerpt, was it intriguing? Like what?
Yeah, no, it was very interesting. It set up the premise and then it just started talking. It was quite a long one. I didn't even read all of it, but just started talking about the changes at the societal level, coming out of the war, and people had a lot of things they didn't have before, and life was good. And then they started wanting more and more and not being satisfied with, hey, we're living way better than we were before, but now we want more. And it was quite interesting. Like he's always interesting to read.
He's probably the most pensive man I've ever met. I don't know if that's the right word, but he just is very thoughtful.
Yeah, maybe too thoughtful for the hockey game when he was trying to help the Leafs out there.
Yeah, like I really do think maybe before his time in terms of like thinking. He's always overanalyzing every situation.
Or analyzing, maybe in his mind.
Right, in a great way. We were in Kazakhstan with him, Billy and I, not too long ago. And he agreed to go if the Kazakhstani ambassador, like Canadian, agreed to take him on a journey on the Silk Road because he had always been fascinated about that.
Oh, really?
And that was the premise that why Ken Dryden ended up in. He just wanted to see the Silk Road.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, but I mean, who pre-thinks of all of that, except for somebody like him. So
I'm going to
sorry for your Jets last night, Sammy.
Yeah. Well, we got a whole season.
Yeah.
I was there.
I have to bring you down to my level of intelligence here. What's the Silk Road?
Oh, the Silk Road is between India and what's the other end? Would be.
Well, the Middle East generally, I think.
Yeah, and it's back in the day where the merchants would take their silk and sell the silk along the way. But it is a long road, and it runs through what is now Kazakhstan, but also Turkmenistan and Kyrgyzstan and sort of in that area. And so he was just fascinated by, what still exists on that road. It would be, in North America, our towns are along the rivers because that's kind of where, but there, the towns are along the Silk Road.
It's like an old trade route, Wally.
Yeah.
To trade back and forth.
All right. I didn't pay attention, and I'm a historical buff. I should have known. Listen, before Dom got off, I had a train of thought here about student athletes, which all of us are or were, and I just think it's sort of the ideal sporting experience.
It just is a white screen. Oh, there's the Silk Road. There you go, Wally.
Basically, from China to sort of Turkey and Egypt.
Oh, it's
6,400 kilometers.
It's longer than the Great Wall of China.
It is.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of Turkey,
Mm.
their head coach has resigned and he's starting a hockey program, and he needs a coach.
I thought you were going to talk about Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Denny NC is his name, and he needs a coach. And he messaged me 2 days ago saying, "I know anybody interested. He'd pay their way and get an apartment, a couple of $1,000 a month. So if you know of anybody that would love to."
I
Like
mean,
a
I got lots of time these days, so.
like he wants a full-time coach, like to be in residence there.
Yeah, you get them an apartment. You live
Oh.
in Istanbul.
Mm.
So
Anyway,
He's a
I
really
just
good
wanted
guy.
to mention Dom had left, and I was going to ask Dom. I'm sure he had the opportunity at some point to consider going to college, and he chose the major junior route and ended up being, where he is today, doing great things and giving back. I'm wondering if, and Tim, you can share this, how many gatherings or reunions would Dom be involved in related to teams he played hockey with, or was professional hockey just too nomadic to create a culture of an atmosphere of people wanting to gather to meet one another? I just attended a reunion with the national team in Vancouver. It'll be the last one because 3 people who were registered in it passed away that year before they could attend it. But, they were academic student athletes playing with the national team. And I think the bond that was created amongst them because of Father Bauer's philosophy.
What year was the national team? Like what year were you in?
Well, the year I played was 69, 70, 71, but the team was in existence in 64. And there were people there from the 64 team. There were about 50 people, I think about 30 wives that were there. I only spent the one day, but it was a 3-day affair, and unbelievable to see them and meet some of the people that I remember from that short 1-year experience. But Tim, is there any in the professional hockey in that? Is there any gathering, or is it just some communication with the odd player that you played with, or?
Well, there's all the alumni associations. Some of them, like the Flames here, and I'm involved tangentially with the one in St. Louis and New York. They all have alumni associations. They all do, charity work and events on an ongoing basis. And even just this past summer, I sort of randomly got an email about a Hartford Whaler reunion that they're now doing every year. It's kind of related to the minor league baseball team in the Hartford area now. I didn't get there in August, but I'm going to try to get there next year. So there are those alumni groups that spearhead a lot of that stuff, obviously, and bring people together, and it's fun, a lot of fun.
Listen, I don't know if Peter Whitney is on, but
Yes.
Peter, if you are, I just wonder, we've been talking before you got on, Hockey Canada's create a policy on being covered in the dressing room and being dressed in the shower. It's a new thing up here, and we've had the debate on it. Where are you at? Where is the USA at on a policy that just seems to be coming a formal part of hockey in Canada?
Well, first off, belated happy Thanksgiving to all of you up north.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope that was a good day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Wally, as far as that piece goes, really the only thing that USA Hockey has in place right now is in the youth hockey world, there has to be someone who monitors the locker rooms at all times that the kids are on there. So they have to go through something called Safe Sport to get the training about how to handle, the various things that might come up. But what you're mentioning there is news to me. I haven't heard anything along those lines yet.
Dominic Pittis had mentioned in his school, high school in the Stockton area that he's coaching at, that there are policies in relation to showering and our day it was all naked and away you went, and we talked about the difference in sports, and we just thought that Dominic thought that some of in his school, the expectation is that they be covered in the shower on the female and male side.
Yeah, I wonder if that's something that is particular to his school, a school policy, as opposed to something USA Hockey has put out. I'm not sure. I'll investigate that a little bit and see, because I've just gotten back involved. We were talking about that a little bit with a youth hockey local organization, mentoring coaches and parents. So I'll bring that up. We have a coaches meeting next week. I'll bring that up to the individuals there, but I have not heard of that as anything that is a mandate from USA Hockey.
And Peter, part of the new mandate from Hockey Canada is that 2 coaches or parents are supposed to monitor the locker room, like either be physically in their locker room or immediately outside with the door propped open, so they can hear the conversations going on and hopefully, tamp down any potential bullying that might be going on, or just reputable conversations or whatever. But that's part of the new mandate.
Yeah, we have that. Like I say, that's part of the each team has, and it's generally 1 to 4 parents that go through the Safe Sport training, so that not everyone has to be that individual in there all the time. But same thing, just certainly not near as many people. It's just 1 person has to be lingering, like you're saying, Tim, around the locker room door to hear the conversation. They're appropriate. No cell phones are coming out, that kind of thing.
Last night, Sammy, at the mission statement meeting that was run by Samantha, this issue came up, and Samantha mentioned that she wanted to assure that there was someone in the room, a lady, to monitor behaviors. And they talked about the types of things that were going on that were unacceptable. And having done the mission statement exercise, which is teaching people about the importance of work ethic, effort, and respect, I just felt that, was this really necessary? Back in my day, I don't think it was on the male side. Maybe it was, and we were just being what we were. But I just feel that if the sport is teaching you the importance of respect, teamwork, and respecting one another and yourself, the life skills, and society is unable to have kids treat each other with respect, we're attempting to do that. And to me, the idea of having to have someone in the room without them being able to monitor themselves and appreciate what we're there for as teammates, regardless of the age, how do you raise your children that way?
Yeah, it's interesting, Wally, because it as much as the respect for the kids, it is in today's era, very difficult to not be a helicopter parent too. Like, you need to allow your children to have their ability to, be with their friends and do all that kind of stuff that is, I don't know what the line is, I don't know what's right and wrong. And, but clearly there has been things that have happened that requires somebody in the dressing room to prevent it from happening. And can we get to a point where we have that trust again? One of my girlfriends yesterday, our daughters were in gymnastics together, and she had just seen a family psychologist that had suggested some things for her family of how to, ensure that your children are safe and out in the real world, I guess. And, how do you build that trust? And that you have to have that trust in the house first, like that it, starts at home. And if you can trust your child to, not yell back at you or not smart talk back to you, then you can trust your child to go to somebody else's house to not do that. And you have to, as a parent, then be okay with that. Like you have to, I think it's as much on the parent as it is on the kids. So I don't know, society seems to have changed so much that the expectation on the parent, like I would love to go to, my daughter's 7, to drop her off at a birthday party. But even at this age, the expectation is the parent goes to the birthday party with them now. Like, so that's different than I think it was even just 5 or 6 years ago, So I'm sure sport is also falling in line with that. But, it's the same probably thing that my parents used to, well, we didn't have to wear seatbelts, or we didn't have to do this. And it's like, yeah, but things happened. So that things had to change. And maybe this is one of those things that now I'm of the era of like feeling like an old parent at 47 compared to most of my daughter's parents who are, late 20s, early 30s. Maybe is it just a generational thing? I don't know.
Let's not forget, Wally, kids are mean. And they're obviously just learning. They don't know what really hurts. It's unfortunate, but that's just part of growing up, I guess, is you don't know about boundaries. It's funny, Sammy, you mentioned the helicopter parenting. There's a great, I'll try to pull it up here. There's a great cartoon in the New Yorker magazine last month with 2 kids standing there, and they each have a parent behind them with they're each holding a puppet marionette, and the strings go down to the kids, and the kids are saying, "Man, I miss helicopter parenting."
Because we're now at a whole nother level. Yeah, like other parents scared to leave their kid at a birthday party because you don't know what's going to happen. Yet these are all their peers, let alone in a dressing room. I can imagine the fear that would go on there. So
much to the detriment of the kids, unfortunately, and not being a parent.
Yeah, like how do you teach your kid to deal with mean kids?
I just spent 5 days in Kelowna with my team, and some parents were there and most were there, but the parents were pretty good.
Yeah, I think
Hell, who comes on here last year, got suspended from Minnesota hockey because he was on a business trip and something happened in the dressing room. I don't know if it was a cage rage or something like this.
Yeah, something.
And and that's the thing about you're responsible no matter what.
Do the kids, when they travel with you, Tom, do they stay with each other or they stay with their parent?
No, they all had, it was kind of like a college trip. They all had a roommate.
Okay, but then the parents stay separately? Yeah,
the parents were on the 3rd floor. We were on the 2nd floor. But I've never seen with these women, like, there's no way in the world I could plan like this. They had every minute of the whole weekend all planned out. It was great. They went to eat and we went to the beach and it was amazing that they could do this. I shook my head because I just would say free time. And
so the parents organized all of it, or the kids organized it?
Well, the parents organized the whole
the
whole deal. And No, it was, and they were very, very, very good. I had one little problem like the other day, and I wrote a letter kind of to everybody about what our team, because you never get to see them, and Wally's going to meet them on Monday. So I wrote a little letter about expectations, because about coming to practice and all this kind of stuff. It hadn't been a problem until our last practice, and but the only feedback I got was one parent said very good letter, and another one said it was about his daughter just is doing so much. I said I don't expect her at the dry land, because she's already probably going doing about 8-9 things a week.
But don't expect to get much ice time then.
Yeah. When Carla McLeod heard that I had a speed skater on my team, she said, "Well, you better have her play right wing."
Sammy, having
She can skate both ways.
having the parents room with their kids on the road would severely impact their ability to party. So that definitely would not be.
That's true. I have a friend of mine who daughter just started playing junior here in the city, and they went on their first road trip. They did like Shattuck and University of Minnesota, and the mom was like, "These other parents, they can drink a lot. I can't keep up." I guess you're now walking with the big dogs. So
yeah.
Well, I had I think the first time maybe ever, this coach, the benches were really close together. And my team is pretty good, and I think we may have been too good for this tournament. And the coach starts yelling at me, "How many goals is enough? How many goals is enough?"
wow.
We beat them 12-1.
That was like the Italian coach in Torino, Sammy.
That's a real hard situation, you don't want to embarrass them by just passing the puck around, playing keep away, and you're trying to, so you're in a tough situation. So he kept yelling at me, and I said, "Well, tell your team to back check." I shouldn't have said it. I couldn't help but say something.
Well, Torino was tough because I feel like every single one of those lines was fighting for ice time and fighting for points and and so they didn't care about the other team. They, they wanted to show the coaching staff that they deserved that ice time. So it was full throttle.
Yeah, it was tough, and the Olympic Association don't make it any better by using goal differential to break ties and stuff like that. It kind of forces you into.
I wonder if that's different now, Tim.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, although there's two separate pools now, right? There's a higher and a lower pool, so that probably helps. But.
Yeah, and there's lots of controversy about that too. That we're getting to the point where closer to the point where we could probably just have one.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I know like Peter Nylander, if he was on, he would be the first one to point out that Switzerland and Germany and Russia occupy the perfect middle zone where it's almost impossible for them to drop down to the bottom pool. Just the way the thing is structured now, they're like sort of cemented in the top pool, and only the top team from the bottom pool really has a chance to move up. That's a topic for another day, I guess.
Well, we're like Sweden this year that was in the bottom pool, so then their stats are like astronomical. Just kind of blew everybody out down there.
Yeah, and I know. I don't think they've decided yet, but I think they're going to have 12 teams in Italy on the women's side, which would be pretty good because the next 2 or 3 teams that weren't in Beijing, that would be like Slovakia and France, and I missed somebody, Hungary. They're all very capable teams too.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely getting deeper and better, and I'm hopeful that with the advent of the new league, which we all hope goes really well and lasts forever, I'm hopeful that Canada and US will not be able to centralize anymore because it will help level the playing field a little bit. Or if they decide to, maybe like the NHL, when the Olympics roll around, maybe the Women's League decides to take a 6-week break so the national teams can centralize for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then go to the Olympics and then come back into the league. Whatever happens.
I think they'll have to do something like that to maintain the integrity of professionalism at that level. Like you would think that it would be down to a lot less of a centralized system.
Yeah, they just won't be able to because
no, you wouldn't
all the
think
best
so.
players, all the best players are tied to pro contracts.
Yeah,
but they might allow like for a week or a 10-day sort of centralizing,
right, like the NHL.
Which I think, well, the NHL doesn't. They take a 2-week break, but it doesn't really allow for a training camp. Like a lot of the guys fly straight to the Olympic site from their last NHL game.
Right.
I was thinking it'd be nice if they could build in even a 1-week centralized to allow each nation to have a 1-week camp, get themselves together.
Yeah, you think they would because there is the built-in Four Nations week. There's the built-in, all the rivalry series weeks that the other European countries have their things too. So it's not like they don't work with pro hockey up until now. I mean, that's always been the case, so I would think that there would be, I'm thinking that there'll be like a month centralization versus a full year, but that's just my thought.
Yeah, I don't know that they'll even be able to manage that. But and then it's interesting. Then where and how do the college players fit in? Because there's always a few of the girls still at university that are part of their national programs, particularly the European countries.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe as we go forward, a little bit less and less so with Canada and US, they'll all be playing in the pro league. So that might confer on Canada and US an even bigger advantage where it might be hard to get the girls out of anyway.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what sort of rolls out of it all, for sure.
Yeah, we got to get Carla on, Wally, and have her talk about what her prep period is like here for the new league and how she's feeling about things and how things
I feel like you're not going to get 1 second of their time right now. They just seem like they're so busy doing everything and anything, prepping. I almost think you might have more of her time after the training camp than you would have before a training camp.
She's actually in town. I talked to her a week ago. We're going to meet for coffee, and I actually phoned her. I'm clicking on participants, and I called her during the conversation, wondering if she would be available to chime in. And actually, that's what I've done today. I've just relied on people coming on, and Tim was on. It led to one thing. Dom was the first one to answer, and it ends up being a pretty good session because the topics take on a life of their own. Carla had mentioned she's still working with the U of C with practices with the assistant coach who's going to be the head coach.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Gina said she's not moving to Toronto.
Really?
Yeah, that they're okay with it this year being, because it's such a shortened season, they're okay with them sort of.
Yeah.
Is she coaching in Ottawa?
Yeah, Carla is.
Okay.
Did she tell you who she hired as her assistants?
Do tell.
No, I don't know who no, she hasn't on the professional team at all. I haven't heard anything.
So on the down low only because it hasn't been publicized on social media, but Haley Irwin is going to be her assistant.
Oh, nice.
I thought was a really great choice.
Yeah.
She was my assistant.
Yeah.
Haley Irwin was?
Well, I took over this midget girls team with about 2 months left, and Haley helped me, and Jessica Wong.
Oh yeah, both. I met Jessica for the first time at Megan Bozak's wedding, but yeah, both amazing people.
Jess was a great player, boy.
Mm-hmm.
I know kind of how she missed out on hockey camp because she was a little bit risky as a defenseman. But I've told the story before, but Sammy, one of the years I was coaching the Inferno, well, it was the year we made the playoffs and finally got to go to the Carlton Cup. But our power play was literally 6 or 7% in the first half of the year. And Jess was hurt and she was trying to get back to playing. She came back and played the second half of the year. Our power play was 37% the second half of the year. And she's the reason.
Well, I saw her at Bozak's wedding, and she had a newborn, like a very fresh newborn. And then I saw that she played for China in the D1 championships and helped them out. I mean, I bet you her baby was probably 4 or 5 months old, like really young. And I can imagine, though, the impact she probably had. And China won. And so China's going to be playing at the top level now again, which is amazing.
Yeah, they've been fighting for that for.
But I know, talking to Jess at the wedding, she was hemming and hawing whether she wanted to go back. But I guess now she's in. She was a good player, man. I mean, she was so good. But yeah, I thought Haley Irwin was a great choice because she's been under Lisa Haley now for 5 or 6 years at TMU. Is that right? At Ryerson?
Yeah, I think maybe, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, she was a very good player.
Anyways, if you can get Carla on, that would be great. But she's probably, I didn't realize that she was still in Calgary. You have to ask her if she's moving to Ottawa. You would think she would have to be there full time if she's going to be on the ice.
When do their training camps start, Sammy? Do you know?
So in theory, it's supposed to be the second week or the first week in November, which is only 3 weeks from now.
Oh,
but
really?
The players still don't really have dates. There isn't really locations necessarily picked yet and stuff. So, I think one thing has to happen before the next. But I'm assuming 3 weeks away. That's kind of.
The league doesn't start till January, does it?
No, but they got to pick the team November, and then people have to know to move there or not move there. So then you have December to prepare. Like, that only gives you 1 month really to prep, right? And then you start. Like, I think it starts right away after January 1st.
No, I assume they drafted their people, they signed their people, and they basically had their team, and they wouldn't need, or maybe just have a little weekend tryout for, maybe to fill some holes or something.
So it depends on the team. Like, some teams have signed their draft picks and have signed some extra free agents to contracts. Other teams have signed nobody and want to see everybody at the camp. I think a lot of the GMs and coaches, I've never seen these players before, so they want to know that they're getting the best. And every team had to take 28 to the camp, and you have to take 23. So it does give you some wiggle room. I don't know which way I would do it. For players' sake, it's nice to have a contract going into camp, obviously, but for coach's sake, it's probably easier to not. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, Wally, that girl, who's a goalie consultant for Girls Hockey Calgary, the French name?
Boissonneau, Boss. Marlene
Boissonneau? She was going to some sort of camp.
Yeah, she got. I feel like I don't know if she's going to New York, or she'd be a good third goalie on one of the teams for sure.
Yeah, because my old goalie is going to take over for her while she's at this camp.
Yeah, I think it's Howie Draper that's in New York. So I think it was Howie might have taken her. But there's a plethora of goalies. That's a tough position. With only really, 12 starting spots, and then you have an additional 6 as a third goalie. So 18 spots. And I think there was something like 30 in the draft. So it's a lot of elite goalies.
I missed that Howie went to New York. Good for him.
Yeah.
It'd be a nice change for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, during his press conference, he said, a Saskatchewan boy in New York City is going to be exciting.
Mm. And who took his job at U of A? I'm interested to know.
Yeah, I don't know any of those. Even Gino is over in Portugal with the IIHF right now. So I'm assuming that it takes time for Hockey Canada to fill her role. Probably takes time for U of A to probably fill his role.
Mhm.
Maybe one of the assistants just steps up for the year or something.
Any interest in that job, Sammy?
Thank you.
It'll be quite different now because there won't really be a centralization. Like I don't think it'll be quite a different role than Mel or Gina.
Yeah, it would be a different role, and you would have like Troy is on for 3 more years, right? So he now is going to be seeing his players on a weekly basis. So I would think too he would be able to have more of a say in, scouting and everything too.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
Okay, so the new acting head coach is Darren Belachuk. I don't know him. Tom, do you or Wally know him?
I don't know him.
I don't know any of the coaches, or other than, geez, they got 4 assistants listed, and Kennedy Ganser is one. She was a pretty good player when she played, but anyway, who cares about U of A anyway? They're all bastards. Hey Tom, do you want to go to the Dino game tonight? I have a ticket.
I've got to practice.
Okay, Sammy, do you want to play?
I could.
Yeah,
I
would
could
love
go
to go.
after.
I got
'cause it's
time.
early practice.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing the last couple of periods.
yeah. I could. Well, I can maybe leave it at with your name on it at the box office if you might get there halfway or something.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I've got this team I'm coaching, the game playing. It came up after I looked. It's played on my computer right now. I've never had a female team pass a puck like this in my life. All the college and everything. Like they're amazing.
What team was it?
It's just a Bantam girls, a 13, 14-year-old girl team.
Oh, is this the team that you've been practicing though with the amount of puck passes that you count?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That probably makes all the difference.
Well, it does. And we play all these games, like you have to make at least 1 pass in each zone. And then we played a 2-second game the other day. It was botch goal sometimes. But they're like, it's better than any college team I coach.
Is Cassie's daughter on the team?
No, she's an affiliate.
Oh, she's an affiliate. Because she only started playing late, right?
Yeah.
She started at like age 10 or something?
Yeah. She just got excited about hockey. Now she
Yeah.
wants to be able to make this level.
Okay.
So she's starting to train and do, because she did nothing really extra. She scored a lot of goals for us. I called her Luch. She just run over top of people, just going hard to the net, eh? And these boys would be flopping around on the ice. We played in the boys league last year, and yeah, she's practiced with us. Like I'll get 1 forward because you only get 17 in the minors. So whoever thought of that numbers, so 11 forward. So I get her to be the other forward, and I get 2D that used to play, so that we can do, have 8D
even size.
It makes so many more things in practice possible.
And so is Cass still then coaching with you?
No, I don't know if like they just got we've had our team for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and they just got their teams named last weekend. So I don't even know if I can get them all. If they're all in different teams, they may be all, practice. And
the time just might not work out. Yeah.
Yeah, because we practice tonight, and I'm not, I don't have any of them coming. But her daughter just got really excited about hockey. I don't think she really liked it last year. So Cassie's pretty excited that her daughter now.
Our daughter told us she didn't want to play hockey anymore. So, which really hurt me as a coach. Like I really loved coaching at that like U9 level. It was really a lot of fun. But we told her she had to replace it with something else. So she has picked rock climbing. So she's joined a rock climbing gym, and she's super into it. And it's the first thing that we've seen her go to the front of the line. Like in hockey, she would always just kind of gravitate to the back of the line again, being up before her turn, and just keep going to the back of the line. And to see that is exciting. But it does mean that, I'm not in the rink as much, which is a little bit sad, but
it's all about passion.
Exactly. It's all about your kid finding their thing, right?
Exactly. Not yours, Sammy.
No, exactly. And intrinsically, that, but it doesn't take away the fact that you really want just maybe one more year, just maybe. But no, she did it for 3 years. She gave it a go, and it's just not her thing.
Sometime they come back, maybe a bunch of her friends will play and say, "Why don't you play with us?"
Yeah. I told her she still has to go public skating with me. And so she was in for that. So,
yeah.
So we'll see. But anyways, so yeah, it means that no more Toronto Six hockey and no more Squishmallows hockey. And so I've told all my friends, if you guys need any help at any point, any goaltending help, I'm more than free to come and help. So
you can be the Leslie Redden of Toronto. You can be the rent-a-goalie for all the men's leagues in Toronto.
So I've already joined 4 women's rec teams, and I play 4 nights a week now. So
oh wow!
Actually, 2 of them are during the days, which is amazing. You can play during the day when your kids are at school. And then 2 are in the evenings. And the one I just went to on Tuesday night was a bunch of women my age that had played CWHL, and like Martine Garland and Michelle Bonello. I don't know if you remember all those names, but yeah, it was amazing to see all these. It was like a reunion again. I was like, this is exactly what hockey should be. The joy it brings me when I go on the ice and play. But goalie is tough because you have to be consistent. Like, you have to be there all the time. And as a professional speaker, I travel a lot. So I can't be Leslie. I can't be doing 7 games a week like Leslie.
And speaking of Lester, bless her heart, I emailed her on the weekend, and like Barb and I are going down to our place in Phoenix on November 7th. And I learned that, hey, Canada, US are playing in Tempe on November 8th.
Oh, right. Yes.
So I emailed Les and said, hey, Les, no problem if you can't, but if we can scare up 4 tickets, it'd be great, because I'm going to go with, I don't know if you know the name Steve Baker, Sammy. I played with him. He played with the Rangers a little bit, so I played with him for a couple of years, my first couple of years, American League and in New York. And he's a guy, I might have talked to you before, he's the guy that's involved with the 3-ice league.
Oh, the 3-on-3, the ice. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he lives down there, so he and his wife.
Did Jana ever get back to him?
I don't think she basically got back to me, and I couldn't get anybody interested, like not Gina, I tried Pooh, I tried the Lamoureux on the US side, just to talk to him.
Yeah.
Because I thought that the timing was perfect for them. They're trying to put this new league together, and if they were interested in being able to play, because it's a summer league, right? It's like basically July and August. If they were interested in being able to play and make, some extra money in the summertime, that they could write it into their collective bargaining agreement that, we have the option if we'd like to play in the 3-ice league that they're hoping to form with the women. But I couldn't get anybody even interested to talk to.
Yeah, in Montreal, they have something like that, the Sisu League, sort of, that it seems like a lot of the players go and play in, like all the Montreal players, but even like Jesse Eldridge and those guys went out and played in it. So I wonder if maybe, I don't know if they make money in that league or not, but but I was thinking the 3-on-3 ice could be a great place for a lot of these extras that will not be getting spots.
Yeah,
and there's going to be a lot of elite players left over.
They're trying to go big time. They need to have the best players playing if they want to. On the female side, I think there's that the depth on the men's side is good enough. Like I watched a little bit. It was on TSN last week, like replay of the men's league, and it's good hockey. It's it's college.
Yeah, but they certainly don't have the best over there of the men.
No, but it's still good hockey, and you would probably need or want the best female players. But they play, it's like $1 million winner take all 7 on a team, winner take all tournament at the end. Like they make the winning team, they can make 150 grand for like.
Yeah, I'm surprised that nobody even entertained the conversation.
Yeah, I don't think they even have any information. I know I think Jana has talked to Steve and or Craig Patrick's involved as well. I think they've had some conversations, but anyway, just interesting.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway, I better run here, ladies and gents. I gotta make some dessert for a dinner engagement tomorrow night.
Oh, what are you making?
Barbara and I have this. We like to call it low calorie. It's not really, but it is somewhat lower calorie tiramisu.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Pretty easy, really, and extremely tasty, and not quite as
bad. Not healthy, but not quite as bad.
Yeah.
Tim, before you get off, Tom and Tim, I'm going to phone Rick Puttick to meet him at Cadence tomorrow morning. If you want to join, I'd love to have both of you if you can. I'm looking at my calendar. Today I have 7 things I could go to, but I'm doing a mission statement exercise with the U18 AA team. Tomorrow is absolutely blank. So looking forward to meeting you at Cadence tomorrow. Are you good for that, Tom or Tim?
I can't get there. I've got an appointment at 10:15, Wally, so I won't be able to, unfortunately. But
okay, Tom, think about it. I'm going to call Rick today, and I'm going to give Carla a dingle, but it's better Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday for Carla. So,
yeah,
like the Sharks would be good for her.
Yeah, the Cadence, but it's meeting face to face.
yeah.
I just wanted to say I was
on
at
the Sharks anytime. I would do any other day to listen to her.
Yeah.
I was at the game last night, the Jets game.
Oh.
And they should have won by like 3 goals. They almost doubled the Flame shots. Like Markstrom stoned.
So do we just have a terrible goalie?
No, Calgary's goals were good. But Markstrom absolutely stoned them. Like it was, the shots were at one point 37-18 the last time I looked for Winnipeg. Wow. And then is it Ehlers or whatever? He got hurt at the end.
Ehlers.
He crashed to the boards, I think, trying to knock the puck. Empty net thing.
I'll have to go check that out.
I don't know if he got hurt bad or not, but he really didn't look very well coming off the ice. Winnipeg dominated the game.
Okay.
Barb and I
they looked like they were thinking of everything all the time. They weren't playing naturally at all.
Yeah, Barb and I were watching it. It could easily have been 3 or 4-0 in the first 10 minutes. And I said to her, you know what's going to happen? The Flames are going to score first, and things are going to be really good. And then Markstrom's going to let in a stinker and turn the game around. So he let in the stinker, but they managed to overcome it. So good for him.
Okay. That's a good start to the season for the Flames then.
Yeah.
Tom,
a 5-game road trip or something.
The first 30 minutes of the call with Dom, we talked about that game, but he also talked about the Flames coaching staff and the emotional intelligence of the new people that he's familiar with. So when I send it out, I don't think I'm going to have time to edit it as much as I do anymore. But the first 30 minutes with Dom talking about the Flames game is really interesting because he only watched bits and pieces. I watched quite a bit of it, but it came away more. It's a positive outlook from the Flames' point of view in terms of the body language on the bench and the body language of the players. Dominic mentioned celebrating goals was real. Last year, he felt it wasn't. And so he may be seeing or reading into it, but he did talk about a number of the new coaches that he's familiar with and their roles, including the trainer. And we did talk about emotional intelligence, and it's an interesting part of it that I may edit. So
it was good to see Huberdeau get off to a good start. Good for him. A couple of assists.
Yeah,
like to see him do well. Anyway, glad to have you on, Sammy. It's always good.
Always good to see you guys.
Okay, guys, we're out of here.
Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna send the YouTube link to my team playing because I'm so proud of them. I'll send it on the thing, and you guys can, if you want to look at it.
Take care. All right.